This is Don't Panic, episode number 333, recorded February 28th, 2022. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on the gadgets, the internet, and of course, you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by a man who refuses to leap this year. It is Dan Miller. Hello, Dan.
Hello. Refuses to leap. Oh, leap year, right.
Yes, you won't do it this year. You're going straight to March tomorrow. No 29th for you.
That's right. Yeah.
It was a stretch. But if it makes you feel any better, that was your tag last week when it was just Colby and I called him the Chester A. Arthur of podcasting. So I don't know if yours is better than his.
Who is Chester A. Arthur?
We got to get you to listen to last week's episode. It was President's Day last week. So he was one of our most forgettable presidents.
Yeah.
We looked at a whole study. They did research of who is the most forgettable presidents. And Chester A. Arthur, I think, was number one.
Wow. I was in a car on President's Day with people. We were trying to name the least memorable president, and that name didn't even come up.
Yes, well, he was the guy who took over for Garfield after Garfield was shot and was president for one term and didn't really do anything interesting. So he's number one up there. That's what my dad messaged me the other day. I said, oh, what you been doing this week? And he goes, oh, I was walking. I got to see the grave of a president. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, it was Chester A. Arthur's grave. I'm like, that's not cool. That's not cool at all.
It's so not cool that it is cool.
Right. It backs all the way around because you're like Chester A. Arthur, Chester Alan Arthur.
Chester Alan Arthur.
Good man.
I mean, you've probably talked about his Wikipedia page, so I won't do the thing where I just name interesting things from his Wikipedia page.
The only thing I remember about his Wikipedia page was that he was described as a mediocre president or something. Like, he wasn't the worst, but he wasn't the best. He was just fine. And I said, okay, I can respect that. Don't be known as the bad one.
Well, okay, here's some fun facts. Born in Vermont, but Chester A. Arthur was maybe the birthplace, no pun intended, the birthplace of birtherism.
Oh.
Let's see.
Don't tarnish the good man's image.
A New York attorney and political opponent, Arthur P. Hinman, initially speculated that Arthur was born in Ireland and did not come to the United States until he was 14 years old. Had that been true, Arthur would have been ineligible for the vice presidency.
He was the Barack Obama of his day.
When Hinman's original story did not take root, he spread a new rumor that Arthur was born in Canada.
The Ted Cruz of his day. Wow. There you go. You could say you learned something about Chester A. Arthur.
Fun fact, yeah.
Fun fact. Good man. Good man. No, we're over President's Day. We fast forwarded. It's the last day of February. We're looking at March tomorrow. You must be excited. I know you're a big fan of the month of March.
March, not the worst month. You have March Madness, which is one of the only sports things I've ever paid attention to, but I haven't paid attention to it in, 9 years.
I was going to say, who you rooting for? Who's your pick?
No, I don't know.
Just
Marist, I guess. I don't
know.
Did
Brian, did you see today? Brian Georges just retired.
I did see that. That's maybe why it's top of mind.
What a legend.
They didn't win the championship this year?
They have not played for the champ. He just announced he's retiring at the end of the season. They're still playing.
Oh, is the MAC championship in March?
I don't know exactly when it is. Let's see if it's pretty darn soon.
Yeah, it's got to be soon. I thought it was always during winter break.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they're still playing the regulars. March 8th through the 12th.
Oh, there we go.
So
well, fingers crossed.
Very shortly. I don't even know how they're. I mean, this is like not relevant to the majority of people who are like.
Oh yeah, the plurality of our audience. Yeah.
Our two listeners probably both went to Marist, so that would be fine.
Or know someone who did.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, it's a small world. No, I was going to look up where they were in the standings here. Oh boy.
Not good.
Well, the women are 6-12 in the conference, second to last. 8-18 overall, second to last.
What you're telling me is it's not impossible.
Well, I am telling you it's impossible. But the men are 9-9. They're what, fifth?
Wow, that's amazing.
So they're 14-13 overall. So they got certainly more of a shot.
Yeah, and also UConn. So those would be my two. Maybe is there a Washington State basketball team that's any good? Does the University of Washington have a good basketball team? Oh, what's the university that's in Washington that I always forget about that is just like it's a name. It's like Xavier, but it's not Xavier. It's
Oh yes, yeah. I don't famous Washington colleges. As I Google like a total moron, Gonzaga.
yeah, there we go. They have a
Gonzaga.
basketball team,
They got a
right?
great basketball team. That's a
There we
classic
go.
basketball legacy school. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you mean Gonzaga University basketball? Yes, Google. Thank you.
Yes.
Who else would look it up?
The Zags, the
They have a
Bulldogs.
one next to their name. That sounds good.
That's the highest number you can have, or I guess the lowest number. Depends on how you look at it. Yeah, the tournament is coming up. But you don't normally do a bracket or anything like that.
No,
No.
normally I'm
given up.
not even really aware it's happening. Let's see. March. The downside of March is when the snow starts to get less good for skiing. The upside is it's when the weather starts to get a bit warmer.
True. No
Here, at
holidays
least.
in March, though.
No holidays in March.
It's the only month I can. Maybe August.
August. Well, August is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. So it feels like it has
Shout
a
out.
holiday to me. Shout outs.
But no, there aren't any sort of. Every other month has some sort of large holiday in it that
You're
I can
right.
think of.
Well, you got the Ides of March,
What day does that fall on?
the 15th.
Ah, I don't think I have that day off. Unfortunately, it's not a real holiday if I have to work. Put it that way.
You don't celebrate the death of Caesar?
No, no, they took it away. They don't let us celebrate it. We celebrated too hard last year, so we're not allowed to anymore.
Had a real killer party.
Oh, people were dying to come in. Brutal. Yeah, that's spring break, I guess.
Spring break.
Traditionally March for the college set.
I've never really attended a spring break because every spring break I was going to the NCAA tournament, which was kind of like a spring break.
But think of all the cool places you got to go doing that.
That is true, and I genuinely did get to go to a bunch of cool places, except for Tallahassee, Florida.
That's the one you're going to call out?
Yeah, well, what was it? First year is San Francisco. That's a cool place.
Agreed.
The second year was Virginia Beach. It's not the worst place. It's a
better than Tallahassee.
Go.
Okay.
And the third year is Tallahassee, I think. And then the fourth year was Washington, D.C., which is not the worst place to go.
Respectable. Okay, yes, maybe it is Tallahassee. But think of all those great MAC tournaments you got to go to.
Oh, those, yeah. In the great town of Springfield, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, that's right.
And then before that,
Albany? Wasn't it Albany?
Before that was Albany, and then after that was Bridgeport. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, Bridgeport was in there, and now in Atlantic City. Although they announced it's coming back to Springfield, I think, next year.
Wow.
So
Bridgeport definitely the worst of all of those. Although to be honest, Albany not far behind. Albany's not a fun place to be in March.
No, or really any month.
No.
Yeah. Depressing. Well, that's good. You got to see some places.
Yeah. Let's see. What else am I looking forward to in March? I don't know. I think that's it. All my smart home stuff is finally like calmed down, and it all works pretty well. The only problem is sometimes, and this is the thing I wasn't expecting to break, sometimes the Philips Hue thingies all just say that they're disconnected, and there's nothing I can do to fix it. Like unplugging and replugging the little Philips Hue box doesn't do anything, and it must be some kind of radio interference, which is maybe suspicious because that box is right next to my router.
Yeah,
wireless or Wi-Fi thingy. But otherwise, the garage door opener, Sean, big winner.
Love it. Don't count out the small stuff.
Yeah, it's great. With Homebridge, say, hey, dingus, close the garage door. Amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I've really pumped the brakes on the smart home stuff, Dan. I got to be honest with you. I looked at my budget and I was like, I just my house. I looked. My router was literally crying when I looked at it. So I said, I can't. I literally have like 40 plus Wi-Fi. I'm probably over 50 now Wi-Fi devices in my house.
Wow.
So I can't do anymore. I just can't. So I'm on a hiatus.
Oh, speaking of Homebridge, I talked last week about Scripted and its HomeKit secure video thing.
Yes.
The other day I took a screenshot. I don't think this is scripted. I think this is just how like the HomeKit system handles doorbells. Where was it? Here it is. It's pretty good at identifying things. So it'll say like, "Oh, someone's outside," and then it'll say someone rang the doorbell. A couple days ago, I saw a group of people rang the doorbell, and sure enough, there were two people standing outside. They were picking up something we were selling. And then today, I saw a person and a vehicle are outside, and sure enough, that was the case. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it shows you the little clip. You can long press on the notification on iOS and get the clip. It's great.
Yeah, if it says a mob has rung your doorbell, you should definitely run. That's a concern.
Well, there's nowhere to hide. They could just knock down this door to my left.
No, that's one thing. My Wise doorbell does a great thing where whatever AI they use detects. So it'll say a package has been delivered. They'll actually know it's a delivery person with a package that was left at the front door, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed though is we do get a bunch of notifications. Well, first of all, I'm super glad that my door, my quote unquote front door faces the back. It faces away from the streets.
Oh, you can't do it if it faces a street.
Yeah, but even then, like with all the people, all the neighbors coming and going, there is a lot of noise, but it is accurately identified noise, at least.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Gosh, I wish I had more exciting technology stuff going on, and I really don't.
Yeah. No. I heard of a cool thing yesterday, actually, speaking of skiing and technology. They make Bluetooth thingies that you put in your ski boots, and then you put your Bluetooth headphones in, both of which are connected to your phone. And as you're doing stuff on the skis, it tells you what you're doing wrong right after you did it, which is the best time to be told that, how to change what you're doing. I forget what it's called. Smart ski boot carve. Maybe that's what it is.
It's a good name.
Oh yeah, it's an insole. I see. So it's like a footbed.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it sounded cool.
That's very neat. I took a first aid certification class last week.
Wow.
As my company asked for a couple people in each area of the company to be first aid certified in the event of a CPR, AED, all that kind of stuff in the event of an emergency. And I had taken a course like 4 years ago, but it technically expires after so long. You're supposed to kind of get it refreshed. So I took a course, and what I was blown away with was the technology in automatic defibrillators. I don't know how familiar you are with AEDs.
I know that, I can picture the sign and I can picture the thing on the wall, but that's pretty much all I know.
The technology in these is incredible. They're so smart because, Dan, like, let's say you collapsed on the ground.
Sure.
And you're not breathing. Okay? I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm not a doctor. And so they wouldn't give me the, like, paddles, clear, and shock you, because you might not need a shock. And what the AED does is you take it apart. I stick these, like, these stickers, these electrodes on you, and I step away. And the machine analyzes you. It's foolproof. And then it'll say, does not need a shock, or does need a shock, stand back. And then it will shock you. And that says, go back to doing CPR. And I'll go back to doing CPR on Dan. And the model we actually have at work has a sensor on it. So the first thing you do is you put on the chest. It'll actually tell you if you're doing CPR correctly. It has a little sensor under where you put your hand on the chest to do CPR. And it'll say, go faster, or push harder, or, okay, stop for breath, or those. It's so smart now. It's incredible.
Wow. I had no idea. So they are extremely automatic.
Short of actually giving the person CPR, yeah, they do a lot of the work for you. That's why now they say if someone is collapsed on the ground, send someone to find an AED. They can't. It's not going to hurt you if they put it on and don't use it, but to have the option is can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Cool. Uh, did any interesting technology news happen while I was out?
There are a few things in the rundown from previous weeks. No,
No.
it's been relatively quiet. We didn't.
Oh yeah, last week. Whew.
Yeah. A snoozer. Dan, I certainly maybe we can reuse a bit from last week, but Colby and I talked about the launch of Donald Trump's new social media platform, Truth Social. I'm sure you already have your account and you're all signed up.
I didn't even know what it was called.
That's all right. Most Americans don't. And the funny thing is, you can't sign up. You can sign up for a wait list to sign up.
Oh, well, that's how everything works these days. So
it's just so popular.
Really, yeah, that's the Silicon Valley way. So they're emulating that well.
But the question I had for Colby, and he had back for me, was if you were creating your own social network, Dan Social, what would be sort of the tenets or the key features of Dan Social? Like, what don't you like about social media now that you would really focus on for Dan Social? I'm kind of dropping this on you, I know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a good question because I don't remember if we talked about this on the show, but pretty quickly into COVID, like the first couple of months, it was like, woohoo, kind of, except for all the sirens outside my window. It felt a little bit like a snow day kind of situation. Like, oh, I have this permission to do this stuff I can't normally do. And, obviously this is all very privileged and my friends and I are going to go play Minecraft and everyone's playing Animal Crossing, right? There's all these digital activities that were happening. But very quickly it became exhausting and like, I don't want to have a Zoom call with, especially a group of people. I'm actually okay having a Zoom call with one person now, but sure. I don't want to have like a group hangout Zoom call. And so as a result, I pretty much stopped using social media except for Twitter. Certainly because Twitter, I don't feel like it's a personal connection. Twitter is like
it's a news service.
I'm not socializing. It's a news service kind of, yeah, and it's more like LinkedIn for me than Facebook or Instagram,
right?
And I think the reason why is because it's like I don't have anything to say to all of my friends, and it seems like a waste of time because no one's going to say anything on Facebook or Instagram that is really of consequence. Like, sure, I might get like, oh, this person got engaged, or I don't know, they got a dog. Like, that's cool, cute dog, but it doesn't really affect my life. So I think what I would want out of a social network, and here's the thing that, in Zoom calls kind of sucks, but it is better than not doing it, I think, is the breakout room, right?
Yes.
The breakout room is kind of a huge hassle, but it does make a Zoom call go from terrible to just okay if executed well. Then like you're in a smaller group of people, you can actually have conversations that where you say more than 2 sentences in 30 minutes. So I think that something that does do some sort of like hey, Sean and Dan and Amber and this person, this week you're in the room and you're sharing photos and you're having your like frequent like, I had oatmeal for breakfast this morning stuff, and you're talking about what the group is talking about, and then the next week is just over. Like, that's it. You can all choose to hang out later if you want to, but that's it. Because I feel like social media, it does need some banality, but if you're not motivated to provide it, then like very quickly you lose interest, which is good. I am enjoying that I'm losing interest, but what I miss is the serendipitous connections. Like, oh, I said I ate oatmeal for breakfast, and Sean's like, oh, Dan, you should try putting raisins in your oatmeal or something like that.
That sounds like nice. The conversation we'd have on social.
Yeah. So I think that's one idea I've had knocking around. Another idea, but response.
Oh, no, I was going to say, you essentially want, like, expiring group chats.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even have to expire. Like, you can keep them around, but
You want them randomly generated to some degree.
yeah, like maybe they get archived and you can go look at it. But like now you're gonna go talk to these other people.
I've been so fascinated by the of the day concept since Wordle got so big, of something that is only available today and not tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not a new idea, but it really did an apps like Snapchat did that for disappearing things, right? Where they didn't invent it, they popularized it, and ever since Wordle, I'm like, I love the idea of something that I don't have to worry about tomorrow or think about yesterday. It's just here today now. And I think a social network where it's like, you haven't talked to your friend Dan in a while. So today's your day to talk to Dan. They prompt you with some stuff. It schedules you a video call or something.
It's like Tinder, but for your friends.
Right. And it like knows the last time you talked with them and stuff. So they're like, hey, we noticed. Or it's like, Dan just posted about something he bought. We thought you guys might want to talk about it. So here's a chat for today for you to talk about it. Like that would be really interesting because I am awful about remembering talking to people and time will pass. And so to be prompted in short ways, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I want. And I think that's like I'm in a bunch of Slacks and a bunch of Discords, and they provide that, but at a like background radiation level. Knock on wood, that's not a joke in poor taste. Which isn't that interesting. Like, it's better than nothing. I would prefer that to like no one's posting anything of consequence on Facebook or Instagram, but it never feels super meaningful. Like, I never get into a conversation. We never have. I don't learn like new things about my friends from those venues. My other idea is some sort of like you enter the social network and you have a budget, and you can spend that budget on doing things, but you can also replenish the budget by doing things.
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly what those things would be. And like, is it you every time you look at it, you use the budget, and if you want to like look at the social network some more, you need to post something, or is it like you do sentiment analysis on your content, and if it's negative, then you're like, well, you have to post a positive, like your next thing has to be positive or something like that. That's my other idea. What was your ideas?
Well, that's so funny because my idea was basically your idea, where I did a version of that where I said every user gets a score. But my twist on it was that I alone determined the score.
Oh yeah,
because it's Sean Social, so I get to determine. I get to determine. So it's like, if you do stupid shit, we're going to lower your score, and if you're more reputable, you get a higher score, and you get penalized or rewarded based on your behavior.
So I like this line of thinking. There are lots of things in the physical world that if I became dictator, I would institute. We've probably talked about some of them. In New York City, no umbrellas larger than like a large or an extra large pizza. None of these golf umbrellas taking up 3/4 of the sidewalk.
Yep.
Can't stop on the stairs. There's an elevator over there. Consequently, stay on the right side of the elevator. All this stuff. I'm sure I have similarly strong opinions about how people should behave online. Yeah. Here's another thing. Like on Twitter, I see a lot of people get confused. I'll be charitable. When someone tweets something and they think that now is the time for them to explain to them something or to answer this question that they think is latent in it, when actually there was no question and nothing needs to be explained. So maybe, and as a result, a lot of people mute their replies or whatever. They make it so that only certain people can reply to them. But what if you could say, like, I only accept certain kinds of responses to this thing? Like, this is, and Facebook kind of does this for, like, I'm looking for recommendations for a driveway resurfacer or whatever. It's like, I'm tweeting this and I want, like, yeah, like, if you have an idea about how to make my Philips Hue light bulb stop wonking out, like, yeah, please tell me. Or I'm just bitching about how shitty all this stuff is. I don't care that that you held the Phillips Hue box on top of your head and rotated around 3 times, it started working. Like that. I'm not here for these quote unquote solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I pitched last week was an automatic way to get down scored was if you reply to a post within 60 seconds of it being posted, because you can't have gotten a good thought in that amount of time. You obviously responded with something stupid because you didn't think about it. So it's little things like that. I mean, I've never, and this is one of those facts about me that I'm even surprised about. I've never had a Reddit account. I've
You've
never
never had a
used
what?
Reddit. A Reddit
Oh,
account.
Reddit account.
Never used the site ever. Which it seems like the kind of thing I would really enjoy. So it's interesting, but I am fascinated by the upvote downvote system and the community sort of policing itself. And I'm in a couple of local Facebook groups where there's some great A morons, and I sometimes think to myself, like, you should be able to have a ballot where you can vote people out. And I think it's like, I think the first round is a secret ballot. Like, should we have a ballot? And those results aren't published. And if you hit a certain threshold, it automatically starts a public ballot. And then you vote. And if they hit the threshold, it's got to be like a 2/3 majority. I wouldn't even do half and half. Like, you got to really not like the person. But then they get ejected. Like, a community should be able to police itself. I realize that's not how it works in reality, but
right.
I like the idea.
Yeah. What did you say right before that? You said something I thought was really interesting.
The not commenting within the immediate.
Oh yeah. What if instead of replying to things on social media, you like queued it and they'll be like, okay, we'll send you like the form to reply to this tomorrow. So then if you were gonna say something stupid or hateful or out of, in the raw emotion of the moment, it would force you to take yourself out of it. Maybe that would help.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just simply, I'm a company. If you post a YouTube video, you can put it so you have to approve them before they go public, which I realize is a volume issue, but I think you could certainly flag. No, but I think algorithmically you could flag a certain percentage of them. Like, these may be stupid. Do you want to look at them first? Could be helpful. Could be helpful because you would be. I work at a company. We make screws. It's not a complicated business. They're screws.
That's a screwy business.
I'm telling you, man, the things people say and do about these goddamn screws I'm shocked, and I'm not shocked by much, but just some of the vitriol and the stupidness and the immaturity, and it just sometimes blows me away. So I can't imagine what it's like to be on an actual controversial topic.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, think about it. I don't think we'll be launching our own networks anytime soon. I think we're stuck with or we can go on Truth Social. Again, always an option.
Right.
Think about it.
Well, you can do this with Mastodon, Sean. You could start the Sean Mastodon service and have whatever rules you want and kick off whoever you want.
Honestly, that is very close to other bad ideas I've had, like a vlog or a blog or a solo podcast. And then I just think about how I talk all day long, and then I do this show and I do the other show. I think there's enough me content out there in the world that I'm happy to just be a listener and not a participant.
Now, would you consider yourself an extrovert?
Oh boy, how much time do you have? My
Got
therapist
at
has
least
made a lot of
30
money
minutes
talking about
left.
this. This is not a joke, what I'm about to say. I have taken a lot of different personality tests, usually for work. When they hire you, when you do like a leadership course or whatever, there's all kind of personality assessments, right?
Yeah.
On almost all of them, I score 0 or neutral or nothing. I score smack in the middle. I once had one I took where it was like you scored between -20 and 20. Like, that was the range. And I scored a 0. And the man said he had never seen that before. Didn't even think it was possible. My personality is so unique. I truly am both. And it is kind of a cop-out to say that, being introverted and extroverted. But I have the outward signs of an extrovert with the internal personality of an introvert. And I kind of do both at the same time. So I'm a very strange man. I break personality tests. So it's odd.
I'm curious. I don't know why these two thoughts are related in my head. Why would a solo podcast be a bad idea?
Um, another great therapy topic for me. Why I'm so worried about what other people think of me, and
Everyone's worried about that.
no, I know, but trust me, I take it to a pretty awesome degree. But I get self conscious about the like another white guy needs a podcast. Like back when we started this, it was different, and nowadays it's like I don't think I have anything unique enough. Like when a celebrity does it, or an athlete does it, or a professor does it, I'm like, okay, they have something to say, something to talk about. I'm just a guy, like I'm sure I could find some niche I know something about, but
Screws.
what? Well, honestly, but then again, then who would listen to that, right? I could talk about yacht rock for days. Okay,
Yacht rock.
yacht rock. We even talked about the soft rock of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mostly your Michael McDonald Doobie Brothers, your why is my mind blanking? I listen to this music constantly. Toto, I think, falls under there. America.
Now, why is it called yacht rock?
Orleans. That's a good question, actually. Soft rock is also what it's more commonly known as. Yacht rock is sort of a yes, adult-oriented rock is another one.
Which sounds very different from those other two.
Well, it says, according to Wikipedia, the name was coined in 2005, actually, by the makers of the online series Yacht Rock. So some guys just made it up. Derived from its association with the popular Southern California leisure activity of sailing.
Interesting.
So anyway, that's probably my number one foreigner, Dan Fogelberg, Kenny Loggins. Boz Skaggs, Seals and Croft.
A couple weeks ago, I listened to... Do you have an Apple Watch? I forget.
No.
They have this this thing where you open up the fitness app or the workout app or whatever, and you get this like, here's a Fitness Plus audio workout.
Yes, I remember them. Yes.
Yeah, and I listened to one because I thought, well, I'm going for a walk and I want to last a while, so I'll try this. And it was a famous person, and I realized from this, all of these are famous people that one is supposed to know something. Was he on CSI or something? He was some character who was on CSI, and then he was gone. Now he's back. Everyone's excited, and he's just an actor. And he was talking for 30 minutes, and it was so boring. It was just like, wow, this is just like, there was no topic. It was just like random shit that this actor has, that's coming to his mind as he walks around this river in Connecticut. And so, anyways, Sean, I don't think. I'll push back on the fact that actors have anything, and athletes have anything to say.
Well,
any more than you do, which isn't to say that they should have a podcast either.
You may have given me a truly brilliant idea, because I hate exercise, but I desperately need some. And maybe the only way you could get me to exercise was if I podcasted while doing it.
Oh my God, yeah.
If I recorded myself and my thoughts while I'm exercising. I can't be worse than that.
It's like
actor.
Hot Ones. Have you seen the Hot Ones YouTube series?
I love Hot Ones, absolutely.
Like that, except you're interviewing someone while you're both working out. You start off with like, some jumping jacks, maybe like a walk around the track or whatever. You ended up doing, whatever extreme CrossFit thing.
The only downside is it is hard to talk when you can't breathe.
Yeah, well, that doesn't stop the Hot Ones people.
That might be easier. I almost rather would do that than I would exercise. So, and by the way, they now have, you can do Hot Ones at home, and I have threatened to do it with Matt. So that may be coming.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and I do not do spicy food, so that would be very bad.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to keep working on my my eventual solo project. I did have a short-lived solo podcast. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, it was a short podcast,
but it was daily. That was my stupid idea. It was 5 days a week, like 5, because that was when Anchor first started and they were trying short-form podcasts.
Right.
And that was too much work.
That's a lot.
That's a commitment. So never again. Um, Dan, as the show continues on here, we haven't had a lot of tech news, but we did have a couple stories this week that came out. I wouldn't say any of them are good, but we can talk about them. Any news on here? Any other news that might be?
Let's start with the Vive. The Vive Flow app turns car rides into moving VR theme park experiences.
Hell of a headline.
Yeah.
Yeah, HTC has teamed up with a company called HoloRide to let you use its Vive Flow VR headset to transform your car into an amusement park.
What?
HoloRide is backed in part by Audi with the aim of creating, quote, an entirely new media category for passengers by connecting extended reality content with data points from the vehicle in real time. Basically, what that means is they connect the VR headset to the car's telemetrics data to create a smooth VR experience.
I haven't heard the phrase extended reality before.
One of those great marketing terms. I don't know what it means. Yeah, so there you go.
So I haven't watched this video, obviously, but a big component of a roller coaster are the drops.
Yes.
And you shouldn't experience anything like that in a car.
I agree. I think a roller coaster is probably a bad example. If you watch the video,
oh, I see. They have like a shooter on rails game thing.
Yes, they have other experiences that you can do. I don't think it's for watching videos, although I guess if again, I do wonder, this is either going to make you much more car sick or much less car sick. I hope less, but it could be an interesting way to solve motion sickness.
Maybe, but isn't motion sickness caused by something in your ears or something like that?
It is, but some of it is motion with the eyes. Like, it's not exclusively that, but then I wonder if you could use the motion in the VR headset to counteract. I don't know.
That would be cool. Lots of people have issues with motion sickness.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is... would I call this practical? Absolutely not. Would I say when I was a kid on a long car ride, would have loved to have had one of these? Hell yeah.
So the problem I have with this is the audiobook problem for me, where if there is something really cool that you can play with this car extended reality thing, I would want to be playing it all the time. And like with an audiobook, when I get really sucked into an audiobook, I just stop listening to the audiobook and start reading the book because I could read it much faster. And I'm like, I need to know what happens. And so that's why I only get audiobooks for books that I think are really boring and force me to listen to them while I, back in the before times when they were commutes. So these like very specific experiences, and VR has this problem writ large, right? Like there's a couple videos I've seen like, oh, you could take your VR game out into the park and then like it looks at your surroundings and the game is enhanced by it. It's like, well, what if I can't get to the park? Then I can't play the game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you definitely don't want to be swinging around those hand controllers inside the car.
No.
A very, very bad idea. But I do think, I mean, at minimum, if their pitch on this was take the headset you already own. I'm not saying this is it yet. Take the headset you already own, bring it in the car with you, and we can counteract the motion of the car to do car safe VR things. Like even watching a video in the headset that is counterbalanced with the motion of the vehicle, or play simple games that don't require hand gestures. That is very, very cool. Obviously, this is a much more specific sort of trial application. But I think I just love the idea of combining the real world sensors with the headset to make it a better experience.
Yeah.
Just don't wear it while you're driving. Someone will try. Someone with a Tesla will try it, and they will crash and burn up in a big fiery explosion. So I can see it now. The headlines write themselves.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else in here?
Let's see.
There's Apple rumors that expensive Star Wars hotel opened. We can talk about some DisplayPort cable standards, the death of IGTV. Any of that sound
Let's talk
appealing?
about the Star Wars hotel.
Let's talk about the Star Wars. Do you know a lot about the Star Wars hotel, Dan?
I know like a medium amount about it. So here's what I know.
Okay.
Only in Disney World or both in
Yep.
Disney World and Disneyland? Only
Just
in Disney World.
For now, yes.
There's a hotel, and at Disney World apparently there are many such hotels that are like part of the park or strongly connected to it, like literally physically connected to it.
Yes.
And are run by Disney.
Yes.
And the whole hotel is kind of like a Star Wars role-playing experience.
Yep.
And it's really expensive. That's all I know.
I mean, you basically got it. That's pretty good. There are probably about a dozen hotels at Disney World. This is the first ever all immersive one, where it's a 2-night experience. And one of those days you actually spend out in the Star Wars area of the park. That will run you about $6,000 for 2 nights. So it is immensely expensive, but it's you're boarding a vacation liner in space essentially, where there are no windows. It's all screens meant to look like the inside of a spaceship. And you're right, Dan. There are role playing elements. There's food. There's characters, and you have a character name. There's activities you go on like lightsaber training, and there is a storyline throughout the week that eventually culminates in a finale on the final day. I did watch, they finally opened it up to the press. I watched a full spoiler video explaining the entire process from start to finish, because I ain't paying $6,000 to go to the stupid Star Wars hotel. And it looked pretty cool. I don't know. Is this the kind of thing that excites you?
It is cool. It's kind of cringy. If it were cheaper, I would do it. But $6,000, you can get a lot with $6,000.
Well, but to be fair, Dan, that does include food and drink. So,
okay,
think about that. Bit of an all-inclusive.
I didn't realize that. Are there Star Wars specific food?
Yes, actually.
That's cool.
There are, and drinks as well.
That's cool.
But it is, some of it you can get in the Star Wars land already there, but some of it is exclusive to the Space Hotel. Yeah, they got the characters all made up and the whole thing. Yeah, I just don't like Star Wars that much. I mean, I don't dislike it, but if I had to pay to be immersed in a fictional world, I probably wouldn't choose Star Wars.
What would you choose?
That, and I knew that was going to be your follow-up, and I immediately regretted saying that because I have to have an answer. I'm going to limit my creativity by saying let's stick with Disney and things Disney already owns and could do. Imagine a Toy Story experience where everything is really big. You're the size of a toy. And they have the Toy Story characters there, and there's like a big foot or something. It's like Andy's foot or something, and he's like, oh no, we got to do toy things or something. We got to rescue the toys, and you eat like big food that's like people food, but it's like, like I think that could be a really fun experience.
Do you remember the Dubai Friday episode about big tennis?
Yes, actually. One of the couple I listened to. Yes. Exactly. I think that would be fun.
Imagine how weird it would be leaving the Toy Story experience and coming back into the real world where everything is normal size.
So small. Everything is so small.
Look at this cup.
And then you got to pay a lot for it because everything's so big. It's so expensive. That makes more sense. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there are some things to mine. I think Simpsons is another property they own. I think you could do sort of a Simpsons land that's really immersive because that's got
own Simpsons.
Yes, they've owned it when they bought Fox. Universal Studios still has the Simpson rides at Universal Studios, but that's from a previous contract, and I think that expires in a couple of years. It's on Disney Plus. You can watch Simpsons on Disney Plus.
I didn't know that. And there's a Simpsons Disney character crossover.
Yes, they've done some stuff on the TV show. And
Wow.
they did a special for Disney Plus, I believe, as well. That's exclusive to
Yeah.
there when Disney Plus launched.
Phew.
Yeah, I think anywhere. I think the worst experience I would never pay, like, at least the Star Wars one. If they did a Marvel one, that would suck. Because Marvel is kind of just like the regular world, but like worse.
Right, and you can't be one of the superheroes, so
Right, you're gonna help Captain America and be like, no, I want to be Captain America.
lame.
Like that sucks. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there a particular world, Dan, you would want to spend an insane amount of money to live in for a couple days?
The first thing that comes to mind is Lord of the Rings and doing like an actual outdoors like
Yes.
thing, and you wouldn't need to do crazy construction or anything. It would just be, how cool would it be to live in one of those like elven tree houses? That'd be pretty dope.
Hell yeah, love that.
Um,
I think Disney owns Lord of the Rings now.
no way, do they?
I honestly, I'm not joking. I'm not. I'm gonna double check, but I actually think they do.
I did read that New Line was sold at some point, right?
Yes, they don't own the book. They own like the movies they made. They don't own the TV rights. But
I see. It's a subsidiary of Warner Bros.
Oh, if it's Warner Brothers, then they don't. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't know. I'm just clicking around on Wikipedia. But a lot of the other fictional universes I've enjoyed are not very pleasant. So, you wouldn't want to go to Dune World. That would not be fun. Speaking of, actually, I've been doing more meditation, and I might pick the app I'm using at some point, which is, I always forget what it is, so I always have to search. I swipe down and I search for Mind. It's not Mind. It's not Headspace. It's Calm. There we go.
Calm. Yeah, Calm's the big one. Yeah.
And they had like a Dune promotion where you could change the background white noise sound of your meditation to be like a soundscape from the Dune movie.
Good Lord.
Which was Fortnite is one thing. I'd never thought I'd see a marketing crossover with my meditation app. That's going deep, man. That's that's burrowing right in there.
No pun intended. I think, Dan, if I have to do the Sean Jennings walking podcast, then you have to do the Dan Miller meditation soundscape.
It would just be this. It would just be...
Oh, you got good noise cancellation, man.
You can't hear it?
No, but that was shockingly effective.
Oh, it's probably because I have that NVIDIA thing on.
Honestly, it was silent. That was really good.
Wow.
Highly, highly effective. I got to get me that. Yeah, no, I just the clacking of keyboards. You're like the what's the lo-fi beats thing that's big on YouTube?
Yeah, lo-fi beats to study to.
Yeah, you're basically that girl, but just with your keyboard and just tapping away. A little rain
Instead
on the
of
window.
A cat, I have a earthworm that's slithering across my floor.
Oh boy, Dan, we got to upgrade your friends, man. Hard to pet a worm. All right. Well, unless you have any other newsy related stuff you want to talk about.
I'm good.
He's good. I'm good. We're all good. We're going to talk about picks. It is the part of the show where each of us brings something we want to share with the world. And I'm going to go ahead and go first because mine's pretty quick. I have the driest office on the planet. It doesn't have any windows. It barely has ventilation. And every time I touch anything, I get an electric shock because it's incredibly dry and it's frustrating. So I bought a small, rechargeable, cool mist humidifier for $18. It's very simple. It just plugs in, you put water in it, and it puts it out as steam. And it doesn't hold a ton of water, and I wouldn't say it puts out a ton of steam, but for like an office or a small space, I've really enjoyed it, and it actually has helped a lot. I'm a very dry person, so having the moisture is good, especially in the winter. So it's the Treva. You can find knockoffs of this all over Amazon. It's a pretty standard design. So I linked to this one on Walmart. That's the actual one I bought, but similar ones like this are all over the place. So I guess that's more my pick, is just get yourself a humidifier if you're feeling dry.
Get a humidifier.
Hot tip. What? Oh, would you believe I just saw this the other day and I was very curious about it. You're always a step ahead of me, Dan. Tell me about your pick.
Yeah, so Wavelength is a game that's on your phone in the spirit of Drawful. There's a couple others of these where everyone's on their phone and you're given prompts, and then you do something on your phone, and then someone has a role where they need to look at all your stuff or whatever. So with Wavelength, you're given a gauge, that like a dial, like a speedometer almost, and on one end is a word, and on the other end is the opposite of that word. And then you're given one person is given is told to come up with. All right, let me start over. You got the gauge. One end is a word, and the other end is the opposite of that word. And one person is given a range on the dial, and they need to come up with a clue that will cause everyone else in the group, except for them, to set the dial within that range. So I thought a funny one was, on one end of the dial was like culturally significant, and on the other end of the dial was culturally insignificant. And someone's clue was James Cameron's Avatar. That's a tough one. And I think they're trying to get at, like, it's right in the middle. Like, on the one hand, everyone saw it. On the other hand, did it really matter? So it's a fun game, and it generates a lot of discussion without a lot of overhead, and no one has to draw anything or anything like that.
That is very exciting, and it obviously can be played remotely, which is great.
Yep.
I was surprised to learn it started as a board game.
I didn't know that.
Before they made the app. So, very cool. Wavelength. Check it out. Yeah, it was one of, I saw it on the App Store the other day. It was one of Apple's recommended apps. So, I said, that seems pretty cool. I'll have to go make some friends to play this with.
Hey, we can play the Don't Panic Wavelength episode.
I am definitely for that. I could learn a little bit about how our brains work after all this time. That's a great pick, Wavelength. Check it out. We'll have that link and the link to my pick as well on the website where you can check them out. Dan, anything else you'd like to say or do this evening?
No, I'm good. I don't know why my camera is suddenly askance,
it's falling over. Hopefully it's not one of those earthquakes. Hey, well, Dan, you got something to look forward to. As you mentioned, it's March, and you know what March is?
March Madness.
March Madness. Yes, you got it. March Madness is here. It's kicking off this week. Later this week, we're kicking off March Madness over on the Up for Debate show, where Matt gets to program the show for an entire week. I'm terrified. He seems to actually be taking it seriously this year, which is scary. He has sent me some Amazon boxes I'm not allowed to open until he tells me to. So God knows what he has planned, but it's always such a fun month because I get to sit back and enjoy the madness. So I recommend you all join us. Check out Up for Debate wherever you get podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and check us out. It's the purple icon. You can't miss it. As for this show, of course, our website is don'tpanic.io. It's a really great site. I mentioned the links to the picks, and of course the video, the audio, the whole shebang is there. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Look for that big red button. And of course, find the video version on YouTube. See this great window behind me and Dan's Askew camera. And of course, you can follow us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. Email us don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. But that's going to do it here. We're going to be back next week, maybe with a third host. Who knows? We've had 2 last week, 2 this week. Maybe it'll just be me solo next week. Who knows? But it's going to be a great show either way. We appreciate you being here. On behalf of Dan, I'm Sean. Have a great night. We'll see you next time on another Don't Panic.